Thank you for joining Sertl Optics 360 Pulse. I am your host, Jennifer Sertl, Director of Marketing at Sertl Optics. 360-degree imaging is part of everyday life, and Sertl Optics technology is being designed to accelerate the delivery of life-saving resources, ensure aerospace safety, enhance surveillance capabilities, and also increase immersive experiences. This podcast, 360 Pulse, is dedicated to featuring immersive technology and innovators working on these capabilities. Before I jump into today's program, I just want to do a shout out to the Association for Uncrewed Vehicles Systems International, also known as AUVSI. Zach, our founder, and I just got back from an amazing 4 days in Denver. And between the two of us, we had over 111 conversations about detect and avoid technology and how our 360-degree camera system Pegasus might be a viable option. So I want to give a special thank you to AUVSI's John Cohen, Scott Schaffman, and Genius New York's Kara Jones and Emma Spector. All of you helped us have an amazing and productive, meaningful 4 days. So now on to today's program. Our guest today is Rob Napoli. Rob is the head of brand at Omniboost, as well as an accomplished trainer, speaker, entrepreneur, podcast host, and Amazon bestseller author. He's based in New York City, but honestly, he's based on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, just because it seems like he's everywhere. His journey has taken him from the Midwest to New York City by way of Milan, where he received a master's and scaled a global startup. He's also coached professional American football, and he's actually on the search for the best whiskey bars across the world, something we will be coming back to shortly. Again, it's really, how do you contain a moonbeam? Someone like Rob just has so much energy and so much insight and is so generous. So I'm really thankful that he wanted to spend a little bit of time on 360 Pulse here. So Rob, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that very wonderful introduction. It's always, it's always weird when you hear somebody else talk about you sometimes. And so I appreciate that and really loved it. So I appreciate you.
So I mean, there's so many, like I could go on and on and on, but people want to hear from you. So to get us started, you as a founder and influencer have reinvented yourself many, many times. Can you share some of the highlights and lessons learned from your own personal branding journey?
Yeah, it's a great question. And my career is kind of talking through that as changed. I started in recruitment, went from recruitment into being a student and a coach, and from that into working for a B2C company, to moving to New York, to going to global corporate. In all these different stages, one of the things that I was really big on was building a value-added network and making sure that I had the right people in my network. And through each evolution of my journey in different jobs and whatnot, I've had to rebrand from recruiter Rob to marketer Rob, back to recruiter Rob, to agency owner Rob, to consultant Rob, to author Rob, to podcast host Rob, and to now head of brand Rob. And coming through that full circle, I think it's really easy for us to get stuck in this need to have our niche. And while it's great to have niche, right, riches and niches, as we grow as humans, we evolve. And as we learn new skills and take on new challenges, I love nonlinear career paths. And I think learning to go through that has been humbling. There was times when I had to be okay with changing and going through that process of changing. That also meant losing certain networks and people and connections and those things. But my journey was always my own. And the biggest lesson is that I don't need to be tied down into any one box. And as long as I do it with intentionality and authenticity and share real insights, real experiences, and real things, people will be attracted to that in the right way. So definitely tough lessons. It wasn't easy kind of going through all that and figuring out the right voice and tone. But, it's come to something that I own and love. For sure.
Thank you for sharing that. That's really great. Our team of 16 people, many have had different careers before they joined Sertl Optics. In particular, our chief operating officer was an architect before he joined the team, and he did a talk about 2 years ago about kind of patchworking your career And so for all of you out there, I just hope that you're kind of in the question of how are you creating value? And then you did mention this wonderful phrase, value-added network. You are the author of a book called The Social Soul. And I do think, in business, again, most of our clientele or most of the audience in our podcast are in technology companies and they're in hardware companies and in manufacturing. So I can honestly tell you that when I said Rob is the author of The Social Soul, this is the first time I've used the word soul on this particular podcast. Here's a sliver of his writing in that was the millennial and Gen Z generations understand social media. They have grown up in an age of hyperconnectivity, but many don't do a great job of understanding or blending their social presence effectively as a tool to show who they are, their why, their value, and the impact that they can create as job candidates or as business owners. So I'd love you to tell us a little bit about the social soul and how does it apply to manufacturing and also technology companies?
Yeah, I think the idea behind the social soul, I was on this journey when I left the Midwest to go to Italy. First time really ever leaving the country. I went to Cancun for spring break back in 2008. I don't count that. I mean, it was leaving the country, but I don't count that. It's a very different experience. I don't count that as like really traveling and exploring. Very different reasons. So when I moved to Italy, I was leaving everything behind and I was in school and I was with all these amazing students from around the world. And I really had to think about what does that mean for me to have these connections and what was I leaving behind and what connections did I want to keep, right? I knew that I was going to be spending at least 18 months without ever coming back stateside. We made the decision. I moved to Italy because my wife now, girlfriend at the time, told me when she graduated university, she was going to Europe to get a master's and she didn't do long distance. So it was either break up early and end the heartache or take a chance. And so I took a chance with her, but I wanted to make sure I kept the right network and the right people back home, knowing that I'm going to be gone for that long, but also building a new network. And then same thing when I moved to New York. And what the social soul means for anybody really is, it doesn't matter if you're in manufacturing, it doesn't matter if you're a teacher, it doesn't matter if you're in technology, it doesn't matter whatever you do, you have a network where you have people that you want to learn from, people that can learn from you, people that you can do business with, and then your kind of ecosystem, the friends and family. And you want to stay in touch with that, whether that's on Facebook or Instagram, LinkedIn or Twitter, TikTok or whatever's next. You have to find how you want to do that and define what it is you want to show the world, right? And that's where the soul part comes in, right? Being authentically you. The subtitle of the book is Mastering Your Personal and Professional Brand with Intentionality and Authenticity. And that's where this all ties together, whatever industry you're in. When you're online, you're portraying something, right? And you can put your best foot forward, you can air your dirty laundry, something in between, you can try to be an influencer. And my key message of the book to the whole world is we do not need more creators, we need more engagers. We need that true authenticity. And so for anyone out there listening, the social soul piece of your brand and your online presence is that you are a person and you engage in the communities that you serve, right? Actions speak louder than words. So are you out there doing things? Are you capturing that? Are you sharing that? And all industries are doing cool things. And so at every step of the way, we need more engagement, people showing and caring about the community. And that's where the soul comes in. That's who you are as a person, coming down to your core beliefs and values.
So a lot in, manufacturing, the marketing strategy is really kind of about content creation and actually having a presence and having a place to share what you're doing and who your team is. But what you're talking about is engagement. Can you so I love that. I hope all of you heard that statement. It's the first time that I had heard it was Rob saying we have enough creators. What we really need now are engagers. So how would someone in a manufacturing company that really says, I want to learn how to engage more, how might they do that?
There's tons of ways, but the challenge that I always give people, if you want to be seen more as somebody who gives back to your community, and you want to be a better engager, whatever platform you want to grow on, whether that's LinkedIn, whether that's TikTok, whether that's Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is, put a calendar block, 15 minutes of your day that says engagement. Go to that platform, and within 15 minutes, your goal is to meaningfully engage with 5 posts. That means leave a comment, right? It doesn't mean just double click a like, not just a fire emoji. What did that post mean to you? Is there a follow-up question? Can you tie that together and start doing that each day? I say 5 days a week. You don't have to on the weekends if you don't want to. If you do, great. But what you'll notice is that whatever platform you're on, you'll start seeing more people search for you. It trips the algorithm into getting you more involved because you're more involved. But it's a great way to start. Like, even if you just do one a day because your network isn't there yet, that's amazing. That's one person that you show that you care about and that you support and you engage with. So just put in that 15-minute block to just pick the platform and go meaningfully engage. The goal is 5 and 15 minutes. If you don't get there, it's fine. Don't spend more on it. Just take 15 minutes a day. That's it.
That's really great. For those of you out who are wondering, like, who would I engage with? If you don't know now, I think if you have the idea of maybe 18 companies you hope will buy your services at some point, start with looking at their homepage and who's writing and blogging about them, and do as Rob said, and connect meaningfully, and just turn it into a habit. I mean, that 15 minutes a day, I mean, I'm sure it just gets kind of woven into this is how you do business. And those are really great habits. Our company is a hardware company. And from your global experience, do you have any hardware company stories that you think are particularly well done?
That is a great question. There are definitely plenty of hardware companies that, I mean, and we think of hardware, that's quite large, right? But I used to work for a direct consumer B2C hardware software combo, and we did some really cool stuff. But a company in that kind of realm that I think does really well is the Whoop Bin, right? It's a wearable device that helps track your sleep and give you your score. And they've done a great job bringing in great influencers. Another one was like the Oura Ring has done a great job with the way that they just tell the story and what is the impact or use for you. Taking that from a B2C to a B2B approach is a little bit different, right? And some companies that have done it well, I mean, obviously Tesla grew a great brand. Whatever you think of Elon back in the day, Tesla started with the electric vehicle, and they had a tagline about how they wanted to create impact globally. It wasn't just by the car, right? Like they started with this kind of global impact that they wanted to create. And the car was the first vehicle of that, and that story has grown. When you think of Tesla, you don't just think of the car, you think of the future of electricity and sustainability. And so that's a great example of how the story of the bigger impact. And so for hardware companies that really want to do this well, your hardware is a means to an end. What is the impact that a hardware does? What is the impact that will give you or the end consumer in some way, shape, or form that makes a bigger impact on the world? And that's what people want to see, that what you're building and doing creates impact. And that's why Tesla brand exploded so fast.
That's really great. And most of all of you, I hope, have heard Simon Sinek's Just Ask Why. What was interesting meeting Rob is that he actually invites us to go even further than just ask why. Can you share a little bit more about what we need to do even more?
Yeah. So, I think it was 2008 or 9 when he came out with Start With Why. And we've all seen the little, it's like a dartboard in the middle is a why. It's like who, what, who, why. And while it's important to start with why, it's important to get to that why first. And I truly believe that you cannot manufacture a why without starting first where you are. And so you have to start with the story of you. What brought you to the place you are today? And what is the impact that you want to create in the world you are today? You talked about the COO, nonlinear career path, was an architect and moved over. You heard kind of my journey, nonlinear, and the current impact I want to make in branding is very different than the person I was before. But all those steps of the different parts of my career has led me into like, I know where this current impact is. So it was first start where you are, put your feet on the ground, understand where you are to what got you here, and then you can build that why after that. And that why usually comes from a much bigger story that kind of came here. And so many people try to manufacture a why that I think the world wants to hear. And it's not authentic to them versus like, boom, I get it. And most founders fail to do this, but it's like the founder journey for sure. It's like you ended up being to a point where you either had a pain, a frustration, a problem that you wanted to solve, and you were crazy enough to start a company about it. I want to know why first, not the why of the company. Why did you start the company? Why was this so important to you? And that would actually help you develop the why to the bigger impact of the world.
That's really, so like identity and having a sense of, as you're bringing your founders together and your team, like our team is now 16, but there's 16 unique stories of how we all got to Sertl Optics. And you're suggesting that we allow those individual stories to have, some context and some space at least.
Absolutely. And everyone's journey is unique because it's yours, right? No one walks the same journey. That is the one thing that I truly believe, that every of us is a unique being. And while we may have similar paths, only you as the human go through your challenges, your fears, your pains, your joys, your experiences. And from a company level, I think it's really important for company leaders, especially at the top, to give life to that. Give space and grace for their team to develop their own story to how they got here and the impact, whether that's on the selling side, the development side, the finance side, whatever. Everyone has a very different path and journey and their own uniqueness. And while you have the big why and vision of the company, what is it about each person in your company that led them to wanting to be a part of this organization and this journey and this impact? And that is powerful. When you give your employees the voice to build their own story.
I just want to optimize this moment just because we literally this week, we have a team of 14 and we just added 2. We just added a software, optics software graduate from RIT, Grace Anise, who has joined our team full time. And we have a new intern from an optical engineering student from the University of Rochester, Benjamin Margolis, who also just joined us. And so I'm probably going to be following up with each of you, kind of wondering a little bit more about your journey. Certainly, I'm more curious about your journey after meeting Rob than before, simply because of the context that he offered. In total, of our team, we collectively have over 200 patents. And many technical companies they're very excited about the story of their technology. Is there any one other 2 or 3 ideas that you could give for companies like ours on how we can better tell our story? Because we are kind of addicted to our innovation.
Yeah, and innovation is obvious. It's really great to be addicted to, but innovation moves the world, right? But I think that where does the innovation come from? What is the culture around the innovation that's changing the world? And also, what are the things that, what I like to always ask companies and talk to them about is, what are the people at that company like to do outside? Not everyone's like, some people are more private and they don't want to talk about this. What are the things that you do outside of the work? Because when we work at a startup and growing companies, work consumes most of our life. And I don't believe in work-life balance. I think there's ebbs and flows to the work-life spectrum. And sometimes you have more balance than work. Sometimes you have more balance. Sometimes you find a good medium, but it's always moving. It's always ebbing and flowing. I don't think it ever becomes a stable thing. And I'm a Libra, so Libra's scale. So I always joke that I know better than most the ebbs and flows of that. But really getting the heartbeat of what makes each individual tick, because usually something that happens outside of the office inspires change and innovation, and they can bring that into hardware or technology or a product or a service. It's usually what they experience in life outside and things that they're involved in and do. And so highlighting some of that, if they're willing to share that, highlighting the things the team does, because the other thing that comes out of this is that there's a lot of people on the internet who talk. Those that really stand out, the change makers, are the ones that walk or talk. And as an organization, if you are saying things like, we're giving back, we're creating this impact and sustainability, are you actually out there doing it? Are you supporting those causes? Do you have team members that are going actively to events and being a part of community organizations to do the things that you talk about every day internally? And those are great things to highlight where that inspiration comes from.
There's been, I'm sure I'm not the only director of marketing that's working with a founder that wants to buy ads and do ads. And I know that you have a point of view about the importance of awareness and when is the right time. Would you mind just one last insight to talk about the power of awareness and why awareness is the first step? Yeah.
So many times we want to turn marketing directly into an ROI. And while that's the ultimate goal, you have to judge on the conversion down the funnel, but there's a starting point, and that is awareness. And most times, if you ask me about a company, unless I was talking about IBM or Microsoft or Nike, I'm probably not going to hurt you, right? So you got to make people aware of who you are and what you do. And that's why awareness is so important. So, for example, one of my goals is 1 million brand impressions. I want 1 million eyeballs on the brand first. I want people to know about us. Because once I know that there's awareness, I can then drive that into interest. And I find those that are interested, right? Because they're gonna give me that sign, whether they sign up for something, they engage with content, they message us directly, they fill out a form. Those are the ones that we can then convert, and we can really drive that down. But what you really love about awareness is that there's a lot of people that have great networks and are like, oh, this is really cool. I should connect Rob to Jennifer. I should connect Rob to Kara, or I should connect Rob to Ben, right? And so you want as many eyeballs on the brand, especially from an impact level, so that you can drive that interest. And so many times we try to go straight to conversions. We think we know who our buyer is. We haven't done the work to do that. And there's a whole technical thing about it that I share on how the algorithms and the platforms run, and they actually want you to do an awareness before you can do conversion. They also have to train their subsets. So there's kind of a technical version, but just from an overarching version, the goal should always first be awareness. Once you hit kind of that awareness goal, how do we capture interest, and making sure we have that set up. And once we have interested people aware, then we can actually talk about how do we convert them? How do we create them into engaged believers of the brand, turn into buyers of the brand, and then turn into advocates of the brand.
Can you say that last part one more time? I think that's brilliant.
How we turn them from aware to interested, how we create interested into those that believe in the brand, those believers into buyers, and those buyers into advocates, right? Because the marketing funnel goes way beyond the sale. It goes after the sale and creating advocates, because when you give top tier service, you make an impact in their lives. From the day to day, we spend 40 plus hours at work. You can make an impact in that, what they do 40 hours a week. They're going to talk about it. And that's powerful.
Wow. We're very lucky being part of the Genius New York Accelerator. And we graduated 2 years ago, but are still very active in that community simply because we get enriching opportunities like the opportunity to meet Rob. And so I know it takes time and effort, but please build in the time because, it's so exciting to get new information and inspiration, which is great. Before we leave the program, one of the things that we learned about Rob because of his very dynamic bio is that he has a love for whiskey. So, Rob, I want to tell you that upstate New York is a spirits mecca from Syracuse to Buffalo. There's so many great wineries and breweries. So I do hope you get a chance to partake. However, there's one in particular that I love, and it's called Black Button Distillery. And it has a really neat story. I'm not going to tell the story here, but I do so when life hands you lemons, sometimes you have to make a bourbon. So
absolutely.
Hope that's great.
I love a good bourbon, and I love a good rye. So I will definitely have to check it out.
So the bourbon, rye, and the story, like the trifecta is there for you, which is great. Thank you for joining us, Rob. As our program closes, I want to thank all of you for listening. I'd also like to thank the Institute of Optics, Genius New York, Luminate Accelerator, AFWorks, Cider Technologies, Archangel Imaging, and AUVSI. Special mention to our producer, Scott Fitzgerald, here at RockFox Studio in the heart of optics in Rochester, New York. By all means, I do hope that you're aware of our program, and I do hope that you subscribe to our program and find us on Twitter and LinkedIn. We are very interested in how immersive technology positively impacts safety and human connection. And you can reach me at Jennifer@sertloptics.com. Thank you for joining us.